Well, I don't know why I came here tonight. I got the feeling that something ain't right. I'm so scared in case I fall out my chair. And I wonder how I get down the stairs. Clowns to the left of me, jokers to the right. Here I am, stuck in the middle with you. What's up, boys? What's going on, man? Let's get to work. Let's get to fucking work. What's going on, man? I'm pumped for this one, boys. I am fucking pumped for this one. What is going on, man? Y'all know what time it is, dude. Just my 2 cents. This is Tuesday, so it is the 2 Cents Entertainment Center. This week, what I pulled out of the Entertainment Center is a Quentin Tarantino classic. It is his directorial debut. We're talking, of course, the classic crime thriller, Reservoir Dogs. I've probably seen Reservoir Dogs. I'm going to put a real figure on this, boys. I probably watched this movie more than any other Quentin Tarantino movie. I've watched this movie at least 50 times. At least 50. That's a real number too. At least 50 times. Maybe more. Definitely not less. Definitely not less than 50 times. But what's up, man? I see some people in the building already. 5 people in the building already. Damn. Hey, I love it, man. Talking Reservoir Dogs, baby. I'm about to get into it. Nicky Elbows. What's up, Nick? Appreciate you coming through yesterday, brother. That was a good time. I'm going to open up the panel here in a little bit if anybody wants to chop it up, but I'm going to go ahead and spit this review real quick, and then we can just kind of talk about it, man. Tell me. And man, light it up in the chat, man. I'm going to try and I took a bunch of notes, so I'm going to kind of just go through them and just kind of like read it off to you guys. So forgive me if I'm not as interactive with the chat in the beginning. I'm going to try and go through it as quickly as I can and then open it up. We can kind of just talk about the movie or any other Quentin Tarantino movies if you guys want to. What's up, Rear? What's up, Shuggy? What's up, dude? What's up, Ear? Yeah, fuck yeah. Yep. And I think the first time I saw this movie, dude, I wasn't that young. I was in high school. I was definitely in high school. I was probably 16 or 17, probably 17. I'd probably say 17, junior year when I saw this, because I had seen Pulp Fiction before. That was the only other Quentin Tarantino movie I'd really seen. No, that's not true. I'd seen Quentin Tarantino and Jackie Brown, but I'd never seen Reservoir Dogs because it just didn't have like. So this is like the early 2000s we're talking, boys. That's when I was in high school, like late 90s, early 2000s. So everyone knew about Pulp Fiction and talked about Pulp Fiction and shit because it had been such a big deal just a couple years before that. But Reservoir Dogs was the one that had kind of flown under the radar. It's definitely a cult classic now. Like people know about that shit now, but back then it was a little bit more like under the radar. So I remember, I saw it in high school, I think, but yeah, since then, man, it has just been, I've watched it a fucking lot. And I hadn't seen it in a while before I watched it this time. It had been, since I had watched it all the way through, it had been at least a year or so. So watching it again was a treat. I wanted to watch it all the way through, but this is a movie, and I think it's one of the best parts about the movie. And just Ear's comment is an example. Like he's seen it. It's very rewatchable. It's a movie that benefits from multiple viewings, and there are little Easter eggs that you can notice. And it's a movie. I'm going to talk more about this in my summary of the whole thing before I give it a rating. Is that dramatic irony plays a huge part in this movie. And that's what I mean by that is where the audience knows something that the characters don't. Like something that's going on in the story before the characters do, before some of them do. And that irony becomes even more powerful when you know what happens. Because I've seen this movie so many times, but even then it's still so intense, man. It's so intense because I know, like, and now I start to notice little subtle things like, oh, the way one guy looks at the other guy, like, oh, did he kind of know? Did he kind of fucking like know the whole time kind of shit? You know what I mean? And it was like that. So I couldn't like watch it the whole way through without stopping and taking notes because I'm a fucking space case, man. I'm like, dude, I'm telling you, I'm close to fucking like Leonard Shelby and fucking Memento, where it's just like you go like 5 minutes and the memory's just gone. Like I can't. It's like retrograde. What is it? Retrograde amnesia. Like I can't make new memories or something. It's not that bad, but it's kind of that bad. But yeah, so I had to stop it, take a bunch of notes. I wanted to watch it all the way through and just I couldn't though. It was there's too many things to dive into, but let's go ahead and start, man. Let's go ahead and start the shit. I'm assuming that most people like Ear's seen it a bunch. Nick, have you seen I'm assuming you've seen Reservoir Dogs before. Nice. Oh, Reservoir Dogs, nice, dude. Nice, Shuggy. Yeah, yeah. I like Scarface and Carlito's Way. Yeah, I like those. I like those too, man, for sure. So let's get started, man. Let's go ahead and get started with the shit. I took a bunch of notes, man, and I was just writing them down, and I tried to organize them as best I could. And I'm going to try and keep this review as organized as I can and not jump around too much. But it's kind of hard because the movie itself kind of jumps around a little bit. But for the most part, it's not like Pulp Fiction, where like everything is out of order. Reservoir Dogs does go a little bit more from A to B. It jumps back, but then always comes back to the same spot. Like Pulp Fiction is like all over the place, and they all just kind of meet up at the end. And it's still like, I feel like Pulp Fiction is a little bit more like abstract with the timeline, if that makes sense. But anyway, if I had to summarize this movie for someone that hadn't seen it before, I summarized it in one sentence. Here it is. So this is not the sentence, but it's a crime thriller. But I would summarize it in one sentence. If anyone that hasn't seen Reservoir Dogs, 6 thieves with colors for aliases try to figure out who set them up after a botched diamond heist. That's what the movie is about. That's what that movie is about. A diamond. Excuse me. Definitely need that lighter. A diamond heist gone wrong, gone horribly. I mean, you can't possibly think of a diamond heist going worse than this one. And they realize that they're set up pretty fucking quickly. And then the rest of the movie is trying to figure out which one of them fucking did it. And it's all just the fallout from that. So yeah, that's what I would say. 6 thieves with colors for aliases try to figure out who set them up after a botched diamond heist. And like the setup for this movie is so fucking cool, dude. I love crime thrillers, and this is one of the best, man. And it's like that for a bunch of different reasons, but one of them is the setup, dude. The plot. It's not just, and they never show what happened. They never show you what happened in the store. You just hear what happened through the different characters. I think that's a really like cool thing about this movie. I'm sure there's a technical term for it, but yeah, they never really show you what happened. They just tell you what happened, and you piece it together. And like I said, that's another element of dramatic irony that like it's another example of it. Okay. So yeah, the 6 thieves. Who are the 6 thieves? Well, you see 4 of them right there. Mr. Blonde, Mr. Pink, Mr. White, and Mr. Orange, left to right. But these are the 6 thieves and their roles in the robbery. So when they planned out the robbery, and there's a scene, it's one of my favorite scenes actually, with Mr. White and Mr. Orange, and Mr. White is discussing with Mr. Orange, like they're going over the plan, and they're going over what everybody's job is during the robbery. And so this is everyone's job. This is everyone's like assignment when they go to rob this fucking, when they busting in and out of a diamond wholesalers. Mr. Brown, played by Quentin Tarantino, is the getaway driver. Mr. Blue, God damn, I forget his name. I'll pull up the actor's name in a second. But Mr. Blue is crowd control. Also, crowd control is that fellow you see to your far left, Mr. Blonde. Mr. Blonde is crowd control. Remember that one. Mr. Orange, to your far right, he's the lookout guy. Orange is the lookout guy. He's the guy guarding the door when the shit's going down, making sure no one goes in and no one goes out. Mr. Pink, now they don't say this specifically. But Mr. Pink is the one that ends up with the diamonds. And when he's explaining it to Mr. Orange, he's like, myself and Mr. Pink, and he's like, you take the manager and take him in the back and make him tell you where the diamonds are. And I'm assuming between Mr. White and Mr. Pink that Mr. White was the one doing the strong arming. He was the one taking the manager because he was describing to Mr. Orange how to like handle. And that's, dude, I love that fucking scene because it's so funny and it's so fucking true. Like the shit he says to make so much sense, dude. About like the manager that's like, he's like, it's a little bit different with the manager. He's like, you know, an employee or some bitch is talking shit to you. You smash the dude's nose in with your gun and you look like you're going to do the same. You bucket the woman and make you look like you're going to do the same thing to her. She'll shut the fuck up. But if a manager's doing it to you, it's because he thinks he's a fucking cowboy because they're insured up the fucking ass and they're not supposed to give you trouble. She's like, so you got to break him in two. You fucking cut one of his fingers off, the little one. You tell him his thumb's next. You know what I'm saying? So I'm assuming that he's the one that grabbed the manager and was like, where are these diamonds, motherfucker? And then when they got back there, Pink was the one that actually put the diamonds in the sack because he's the one that ends up with them. You know, spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. Mr. Pink is the one that ends up with the diamonds after the robbery. Because that's pretty much like where it starts. That's pretty much where the movie starts. There is one scene before the credits, the opening credits, where they're, at the diner. And that's a great scene too, man. When they're at the diner talking about fucking the origin, the real meaning of like a virgin, and the fucking the argument and discussion about the tipping and all that shit. It's fucking great. But it really starts when they get back to the warehouse. And it opens with that crazy scene with Mr. White and Mr. Orange in the car. And I'll talk about that in a second. But yeah, that's the roles. That's their roles in the robbery. Quentin Tarantino's the getaway driver. And let me pull up that other that actor's name because I want to give him a shout out because he's not in the movie very long, but he's funny. And I think it's not Lawrence Tierney. It's what's that fucking other guy's name, man? The guy that plays Mr. Blue. But yeah, Mr. Blue and Mr. Blonde are crowd control. Mr. Orange is the lookout guy. He's the guard at the door. And then White and Pink are basically the point men. Like Pink is the one that scoops up the diamonds, and White's the one that grabs the manager and is basically like, where the fuck are they? So yeah, let me see here. Shout out to the 5 people in the building though, man. I mean, you can see the fucking avatar. We're talking about Reservoir Dogs. Anybody that's just joining me, if you're new to the channel, appreciate you being here. Smash the like button if you don't mind. Okay, yeah. Eddie Bunker. That's his name. Eddie Bunker. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Not pictured. Yes, thank you, Ear. Not pictured. For anyone joining you, if you have not seen Reservoir Dogs, this is a big spoiler alert. I will be giving you nothing but spoilers pretty much. But because I'm assuming that most people in this chat have seen it. So yeah, not pictured as Mr. Brown and Mr. Blue. But like I said, Brown's the getaway driver. Orange is a lookout guy. Blue and Blonde are crowd control. And man, did you make the wrong choice there, bud? Did you make the wrong fucking role assignment there, buddy? But yeah, White and Pink are the point men. They're the ones that go get the diamonds. So that's how it's supposed to go. And does it ever not fucking go to plan? Like it goes sideways so like immediately, dude. But you find out why, and that's kind of like that whole reveal how they slowly like this movie's great at giving you like a slow kind of they like reveal one thing after the other. Kind of it's like an onion. It's like one layer after the next. Like okay, they're about to do this. You see that it goes horribly wrong immediately, and I'm going to talk about some of my favorite like shots and stuff and like moments of direction from Tarantino that I think are really fucking nice. But the transition from that song that's playing like when when they're all walking at the beginning, like where this I mean these pictures are just shots from them all walking, strutting at the beginning and looking back on the track, gonna do it my way. That song, like it immediately, like it's like dun 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 dun, and it like goes into like Orange screaming after being shot. Like man, it goes from like bad to worse so quickly, and from there it's like okay, it went bad. It definitely went bad. Obviously, what the fuck happened? And that part, like where they go back to the warehouse and Pink is explaining to Mr. White, he's like, dude, we fucking got set up. I know we got set up. That's some of my favorite like scenes in the movie where they're like, he's Pink's freaking out. Like he's like, someone set us up. He's like, come here, like go into this other room with me. Like, come here, talk to me real quick. Like, we need to sort this shit out. When they're trying to figure out what happened and coming to the conclusion that they were set up, that's some of my like favorite parts of the movie. Like the tension building in this movie is so fucking, it's like it's a slow burner and like a quick starter at the same time, man. It's really good like that. But let me take a drink of water, man, because I'm talking pretty fast. I'm excited. And yeah, dude, appreciate you guys being here talking about Reservoir Dogs. Yes, I will definitely touch on that. I will definitely touch on the acting because the acting, I'll just say this right now. Michael Madsen, Steve Buscemi, Harvey Keitel, and Tim Roth, the acting from them in this movie, it's some of the best performances of their respective careers. Absolutely for Michael Madsen. I would say for Steve Buscemi's had a lot of good roles, but Steve Buscemi's acting in this one is really fucking good. And Harvey Keitel, man, I think Roth and Harvey Keitel is between them for me. Like it's so fucking good. Like they're so believable, man. But yeah, and I'm going to talk a lot about that because, and I'll discuss a couple of the themes of this movie that are really important, and I'll give you some more examples of the dramatic irony. But what I kind of wanted to do, like, I was like, well, how do I want to talk about this, man? Do I just want to go through the plot and just like talk about what I liked here and there? But what I decided to do is, you see the four characters right there, and they're up there, I think, for a reason, because those are the four main characters. The movie revolves basically and percolates off of what happens between those main characters right there. And they set it up like that. Like, so that's kind of how I want to do it. I want to kind of go through one by one, and I'll do it in the order that they reveal it in the movie, because I think that makes the most sense for the story. It just makes the most sense because, like I said, the irony of it is, trying to figure out who the undercover cop is, and then figuring it out, and then the aftermath of that. So yeah, I want to go through each one of these characters, each one of these diamond thieves, and examine that character and tell you what I liked about the actor's performance, and tell you how, like, what I liked about that role or their part in the story. So yeah, this is for me, watching these movies and talking about them with you guys. It's I like watching movies and studying them. So this is like a film study. It's a movie review. And I'm saying I'm more interested, but like I'm much more attuned to the acting and the storytelling side. Like I'm not an expert storyteller. I'm not a great actor at all, but that's what I'm more like savvy to than like the technical directing side. Like, oh, this is this kind of shot and he was using this kind of camera and stuff like that. I'm not as like attuned to, but the acting and the story and the plot, that's what I'd really like to dig into, and what I liked about that and what I just enjoyed about watching the movie, like why I like it anyway, is just that kind of shit. Chris Brady, what's up, man? Good to see you, dude. Nick Alexander, shout out to the land down under. Yeah, Roth and Keitel are so good in that. And I will talk about their relationship. The relationship between those two characters is a central, if not the central theme of the movie. So let's get into these characters, man. Let's get into I'm gonna go through Mr. Pink, Mr. White, Mr. Blonde, and Mr. Orange. So let's do that shit. Great soundtrack, dude. Yeah, the tipping scene is fucking hilarious. What do you mean you don't tip? You don't believe in it. What do you mean you don't believe in it? So funny, dude. It's such a fucking fight. As good as the acting, as good as like and powerful and emotional as like the dramatic moments are, it's really, really fucking laugh out loud funny. And a lot of times it's like good acting and hilarious one-liners in like the same scene and like the same kind of monologue. You know what I'm saying? It's the dialogue in this movie and the screenplay, all that shit is really, really fucking nice. Let me I think it's only appropriate to repack this chalice here. Have a casual toke of the jungle cake and jump into it, man. I'll just go ahead and tell you. The first character we're going to start with is the center left, Mr. Pink, played by Steve Buscemi. We're going to start with Mr. Pink, man. Talk about Mr. Pink, how he relates to the story, Steve Buscemi's performance, what I liked about Mr. Pink, and yeah, he's essential to the. He's an essential character to the movie. So Mr. Pink, and that's the first character they really profile. He is, for me, Mr. Pink is kind of the character that, at least for me, like that's kind of the character that I view the movie through, if that makes sense. Like he's the character that I feel like is the most like caught right in the middle and is like the most level-headed and trying to figure out what the fuck is going on. And I just feel like I kind of like almost like view the movie more from his perspective than I do from the other characters. Not that I can't relate to them. The things, their emotions and the things that they go through and their struggles, I can relate to a lot of, not like getting shot or anything, but like some of the stuff, some of the themes that I'll talk about, I can relate to some of that. But as far as like what happens, like, and how like trying to figure out like, okay, well, who is like, and especially the first time you watch it, right? Like it's different when you know what's happened, you know who, the undercover cop is, you know who the fucking psychopath is, and you know what happens, right? But the first time you watch it, I feel like you're almost kind of watching it through Mr. Pink's eyes, if that makes sense. So yeah, let me pull my notes on this shit. Take a fucking casual toke here. But yeah, salute to the 3 people in the building, man. Talking some fucking Reservoir Dogs. Talking about Mr. Pink. He's character number 1. Character profile number 1. What's it gonna be, Mr. Pink? Yeah, so, man, Mr. Pink pretty much calls everything. Like, he pretty much is right about damn near everything. He comes in there and is like, we were fucking set up. He's like, was that a fuck? I think that's the first thing he says. He busts through the door and he's like, was that a fucking setup or what? And goddamn, he wasn't right about it. And I love that, like, trying to figure out what happened. And he's like, explains it perfectly. He's like, you know, when the alarm goes off, the alarm gets tripped. When the alarm gets tripped, you got like 4 minutes response time, right? He's like, unless a patrol car is driving down the street at that exact moment, it's like, you got 4 minutes. He's like, but in 2 fucking seconds, there were fucking like cops everywhere. And so he's like, that's how I know, like, we got fucking set up. And he's like, what? Like, what the fuck are you talking about? And he like takes him in the back. And I love that part, man. He's like, chill. He's like, just chill the fuck out. Have a cigarette. Let's figure out what the fuck happened here. Have a cigarette. I quit. Why, you got one? Oh shit, what's up, dude? What's up, drunkie? Nice, dude. Yeah, so I'm thinking about doing another one, man. I'm thinking about either I'm gonna do another poll. It's gonna be another Quentin Tarantino movie poll, and it'll be I might do it between 3 movies, actually. I might make it between 3 movies, but yeah, so drunkie man, just in time. So I'm talking about I decided to do the movie breakdown in like character profiles. It's really like a film study as much as it is a review. So we're talking about Mr. Pink right now, and I was kind of saying that, like, for me, Pink is the guy that you kind of watch the movie through. Like, he's kind of the guy like stuck right in the middle trying to figure out what the fuck is happening. He's like, there's a fucking rat in the house. And when they go back there and they're talking in the washroom or whatever the fuck that is, and he's like, okay, he's like, Harvey Keitel's like Mr. White is like, okay, everything's going fine. Then the alarm gets tripped. He's like, then I blink. He's like, then everyone goes ape shit. And then I see there's cops. And then Mr. Blonde he's like, no, that's not right. He's like, that's not correct. He's like, the cops didn't show up after the alarm went off. The cops didn't show up until after Mr. Blonde started shooting everybody. He's like, that's how I know we were set up. He's like, I'm not saying they weren't there. He's like, I'm saying they were there, but they didn't make their move until after Mr. Blonde became a madman. Like, that's how I know. Because if the cops it was really after the alarm, it would have taken a lot longer for them to get there. Because he even says, like, that second wave that showed up, he's like, those patrol cars, those were the ones responding to the alarm. But those other guys, they were fucking there. They were there and they were waiting for us. And so right then, okay, that's what happened. Like, there was an undercover cop that had the fucking drop on them. They were about to get fucked right there. And you find out that real quick, we're gonna talk about him. The guy to the far left went fucking apeshit and started killing all the people in the store. And yeah, so that's what happened. That you find out that much right away. Someone set him up, and Mr. Blonde is a fucking psychopath. Like, you find that out like this is like 15 minutes into the movie, maybe 15 minutes of the movie. You find this out. It's like they're having their fucking breakfast before the robbery. Because literally, I think they go right from that breakfast to the robbery. Like, they're walking down the alleyway or whatever, the classic opening scene where these little pictures here are taken from, and then they go to the robbery, and then it's mayhem. They're playing the song, dun, 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 and then it's Mr. Orange screaming, and yeah, so it's like it goes from bad to worse to worser to worser. And it's just like I said, it's like an onion peel. It's like, oh shit, it went wrong. What went wrong? Oh, we got set up. Oh, Mr. Blonde's a fucking madman. Oh shit, like, we got to figure out all this shit at once. And meanwhile, Mr. Pink is like, dude, I got the fucking diamonds. I got the diamonds. We need to take the fucking diamonds and get the fuck out of here. He's like, I say you and me take the diamonds and bolt. Like, we should have our fucking heads examined staying here. And it's like, dude, why didn't you listen to him, man? Why didn't you just listen to Mr. Pink? He had the diamonds. You could have just been gone. But I love those. I love that scene, man. When they're discussing what happened, how shit went crazy. You find out that, you know, not only did they clearly get set up because of the response time of the cops and whatever, and then you find out that Mr. Blonde is a psychopath. That he was just like offing people one by one, like killed like a young girl, killed like just all these innocent people, man. Like just one after another, after another, after another. And that's when the cops made these, like, because the cops were obviously sitting there just like waiting to make their move. You know, because he like, why what's the fuck? Steve Buscemi is like, we didn't hear any sirens. There were no sirens. He's like, they didn't show up after the alarm went off. They were sitting there waiting for us to come out of the store, but Mr. Blonde started fucking opening fire in the store, and then they made the move. So that's why it went haywire. So I love that plot, that like that's kind of story part of it right there. I love that setup right there. Love that shit. But yeah, Mr. Pink is kind of like the voice of reason, if you will. Mr. Pink is the voice of reason. Yes. You say something's going on? Yeah, it's a great movie, man. It's a great fucking movie. Yeah. That's Jay Henry. Yeah, Jay's cool, man. He's it's I think his name is MMA. It's at Jay Henry or whatever, but the name is MMA Drunkie is his tag or whatever. So yeah, man, MMA Drunkie in the house. But yeah, dude. So that's kind of Mr. Pink is kind of the voice of reason. And he tries to remain the most level-headed. And dude, like I said, he calls everything. He calls them being set up. He was right about the cops and them that they just needed to leave. Like, there's another thing. Yeah, the acting from Steve Buscemi, it's really, really good in those scenes. When he's telling him about the setup, and then he like Mr. White goes to tell him his name. He's like, whoa, stop, man. He's like, I don't know your fucking name. It's like, Jesus Christ, I'm not gonna tell you mine. Like, that's good acting from Buscemi, man. I really like that shit. And it's just believable and subtle, and it's just realistic, man. It's realistic like acting. You can just tell he's like he's super stressed out. Like he's like, but he's still trying to think logic. Like he's trying to keep it together, and he's super fucking stressed. It's very believable. It's really, really good acting from Steve Buscemi. That's some of his best acting in the whole movie to me. Is like when him and White are like figuring out what the fuck happened. And it's like, dude, you should have left. You should have left right fucking then and there. It's like you had the diamonds. You figure out what happened and just go. But of course, Mr. Orange. So yeah, but that's Mr. Pink. That's Mr. Pink. He was the one that went in when him and Mr. White went in the back and actually got the diamonds. And I love talk about some of the shots, like the camera shots. I love that shot of him like running down the like when he busts out of the fucking store and he's just bolting down the fucking sidewalk and the cops are chasing him, that foot chase. Is like the foot chase that like turns into the carjacking at the corner. He gets to the corner, like yanks that lady out of her car, and the cops like round the corner and they have a shootout there. That's a great scene. Just a nice little like trend. Like I love that shot of him running, and then boom, it just like hits the corner, and then the cop. It's like that. I love that whole thing. And then he hops in the car, and the cops like are chasing after him. That whole sequence is awesome. I love that shit. All right. Now, this next character is one of the main characters. I feel like he's he might be the central character of the movie. He's probably the central character of the movie, or one of them. Well, you can make an argument that there's really two central characters in the movie, but he's one of the central characters of the movie, and it's Mr. White. Mr. White, I would say, is a protagonist. I would call Mr. White a protagonist. I would also call Mr. White a tragic hero. Mr. White is kind of like Ned Stark, man. He is honorable. He's loyal. He's a good friend, and he's ultimately like loyal to a not to a fault, but like it's ultimately like, yeah, he's a tragic hero. He's kind of like Ned Stark. Like he refuses to see what's going on and just won't accept, like, I don't know, man. It's just it's and the performance from Keitel is so fucking good. I think some of the best acting out of him, and one of my favorite scenes, and one of the ones that I feel like is the most realistic, like hits the hardest for me, is the most like emotionally powerful, because they, well, I'll preface it with this. The relationship between Mr. White and Mr. Orange, I think, is really the like one of the central themes of the movie. It's really what at the heart of the movie. Um, and that's what another thing I say, dramatic irony, like knowing what you know before Mr. White knows, and just seeing how it's all just going to end so badly. And but he's a good dude. Like he's the one that's like, he means the best. He's probably, out of all of them, he's probably the best person. You know what I mean? Like he's probably the best like guy. Like he's probably like the, I wouldn't say the nicest, but he's probably like the most honorable of them, I would say. Um, but it's also like to a fault. And it starts out. The movie does a really good job of setting up their bond. They're like their bond, their friendship or relationship or whatever you want to call it, got forged in a traumatic, like super, like they were kind of like, they kind of got along. They kind of clicked, and he kind of like, White kind of took Orange under his wing, and like is kind of like his first big job like that or whatever, and give him, going over the instructions and shit like that, get him ready for it. But when it goes bad and he gets shot in the stomach, and like you don't see that until later, but that opening scene, man, and I'm gonna get to this in a little bit, but man, the acting from Roth is really, really good in that scene. Like, I'll get to that in a minute, but for Mr. White, like that, his bond with Mr. Orange and why ultimately it goes bad is because of the connection that got forged there. Like the guy's like dying, he's like on the verge of death, and White is trying to keep him there. Like, no, you're gonna make it. You're gonna get through this. Like that scene is so powerful, dude. It's just like right off the bat, like right when it goes, like it's all kind of like chill and funny. They're like eating and whatever, and just strutting down the street. Everything's all good, and then all of a sudden it's just like he's screaming, blood fucking everywhere, like, and yeah, he's trying to comfort him. He's trying to like calm him down. And so right off the bat, it's like these guys they're close. Like that's his boy. You know what I'm saying? Like Orange is his boy. So I think some of the best acting from Keitel and some of the best acting in the movie, and why I think it's so believable, is they set that up right, and it comes when they're in the washroom, right? They're in the washroom. Exactly, Nick Alexander. Mr. White equals Ned Stark. Yep, pretty much. They're in the washroom, and he's like, "Don't tell me your fucking name. I'm not gonna tell you mine." And then he finds out when they go back out into the warehouse. Mr. Orange is just fucking laying there, dying, like probably a few hours from death. And he's like, well, they're talking about like, okay, well, we'll take him to the hospital. Like, we'll just drop him off. He's like, he doesn't know anything about us, so he'll be fine. He's like, well, he knows a little bit about me. He's like, what? He's like, well, I brought up casually in conversation, and again, he fucked up there, but brought up casually in conversation where he, is from, kind of came up naturally. And then he's like, well, why'd you tell him your name? And he's like, he asked. He's like, we just got away from the cops. He just got shot. It was my fault he got shot. He's like, dude, he's sitting there dying. He's like, what the fuck was I supposed to do? I can't give out that fucking information. It's against the rules. I don't trust you enough. Like that shit is some of the best acting. Like that shit is like I felt what the kids say. I felt that, bro. Like I felt that shit. Like you can feel the conflict. Like, God damn, yeah, I know I wasn't supposed to do that, but like I thought the guy was gonna fucking die. He's like you can just feel how that's just crazy, man. Like that's just really powerful acting to me, and like just a crazy like story, dude. And yeah, that's some of the best stuff from Keitel, and that little monologue right there when he's like maybe I should have, but I couldn't. It's like fuck you, fuck Joe. He's like it's like that's like real emotion, man. Like it's just really fucking good. Oh, nice. Oh, just a nice little, oh shit, dude. Nice little Easter egg there. Little hidden, like, I like that shit. I like that. But yeah, man, that monologue right there where he's explaining to him, he's like, dude, I know I shouldn't told him my name, but I thought the guy was gonna fucking die. He's like, he asked me what my name was. He's like, it's probably like the guy's last living moments is what he's thinking. And he's like, what the fuck was I supposed to do? I don't trust you enough. It's like, what am I supposed to do right there, man? So I love that shit. I think that's great fucking acting from Harvey Keitel. And yeah, he's so good in that role, man. He's so good. And he's okay. So I talked about briefly their roles in the robbery, and Mr. White was the point man. He's basically the one that took the manager and was like, where are the diamonds, motherfucker? And he's pretty much kind of like the de facto leader. I'd say he's the de facto leader of the whole heist group, the whole group of thieves, if you will. He's a born leader. They give examples that he's like like a natural leader. And one of them is, first of all, calming Mr. Orange down. Because he's like, fuck. He's like, and like I said, such good acting from Tim Roth. He's like, I'm fucking, he's like, there's blood everywhere. He's like, fuck, I'm gonna die. He's like, I know I'm gonna die. He's like, I know it. And it's like, man, I felt that shit too. He's like, how scary that must feel, like knowing you're gonna die, or like thinking you're gonna die because you can fuck. He's like, this blood's scaring the shit out of me. Like he's like, fuck. And but he calms him down. He's like, you're gonna be okay. He's like, are you a doctor? He's like, are you a fucking medical doctor? He's like, so say the fucking words. Dude, it's fucking. So yeah, he is a leader. He obviously knows how to take charge of a situation like that. When the shit goes the most haywire, he can, in that kind of way, like he calmed Orange down, right? They get to Pink comes in, he's fucking freaking out. Like he's like, shit, we gotta go. We gotta get out of here. We gotta go. And he's like, he calms him down. And they discuss what happened or whatever. But he's also like, he has these flaws. He has these like character flaws where he's like, he's too trusting. He lets his what is it? He lets his like his feelings get in the way sometimes when he shouldn't, kind of deal. Yeah, it's pretty fucking cool, dude. Yeah, good luck on that one. That's pretty fucking cool. Um and yeah, like what's his other notes, man? Mr. White. Yeah, so and again, the dramatic irony, of course, Mr. Pink is right about everything. Like when he said like why did you fucking tell him where you were from? He's like, he just came up in conversation. Well, you find out later that Mr. Pink or Mr. Orange did indeed use that information. He like passed it along. He's like, oh yeah, I guarantee he's from the Milwaukee area, he's from Wisconsin. He's like, bing. He's like, yep. So they knew they pulled it. They found out who he was, pulled his file, and I guarantee you he was going to use that to build a case or at least help them get information and track them all down. And yeah, like again, Mr. Pink was fucking right about everything. He was right that someone set him up. He was right that they should. He's like, whoever set us up knows about this place. He's like, if there's a cop on the inside, then they know about fucking everything. He's like, we should have our fucking heads examined waiting here. And again, he's right. You find out again that that's why everyone fucking ends up dead. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, Mr. White is like, Harvey Keitel does a great job in this. And like I said, he's the tragic hero ultimately of the story. Like he's a protagonist, but ultimately like his loyalty to Mr. Orange because of what happened. They make it so believable because it's like he still feels so close to him because he was there with him when he got shot and he like almost died, and it was like his fault, and he like the guilt of that coupled with them just going through that traumatic experience together, like having that, I was like, that's my boy, man. He's like, because that it's real. Like you think Mr. Orange and Mr. Orange thought he was going to die. You know what I'm saying? Like in the beginning of the movie, you think, okay, Mr. Orange is going to die right there. Like they're just having a heart-to-heart moment in these final moments of this dude's life. And then you find out like it's like the dude's just waiting there. He's waiting to fucking play you. And but it's crazy because it's like he can't ever like break himself away from that. And it's ultimately, it's his downfall. It's ultimately like his undoing. Is his Mr. White's undoing, and why he's a tragic hero is his loyalty to Mr. Orange. Okay, let me stroke this chalice one time. And let's talk about character number 3. Let's talk about this wily guy to my far left. Let's talk about this motherfucker with the butt hanging out of his mouth to my far left. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about Mr. Blonde. Oh, yeah, sorry. Yeah, I've been yakking on. It's going to be like a 2-hour stream. I was going to do my little review and then open up the panel. Yeah, sorry, man. But yeah, I appreciate you stopping through. But yeah, like next week, I'll put a poll out, Drunky, about which Tarantino movies I'll do. And like I said, it'll be the same format next week. Like I'll do my review and then I'll open up the panel in like the second hour, and we can talk about whatever movie wise. But yeah, dude, thank you for coming through. I'll be back tomorrow. Yeah, and if you want to vote in the poll, Alice in Chains Dirt or Stone Temple Pilots Core. I'm going to listen to one of those albums either tonight or tomorrow and review it for the show. So if you want to vote in that, go ahead. And yeah, again, thanks for stopping by, dude. I'll be back at it next week. So yes, let's talk about Mr. Blonde. Let's talk about Psycho Boy. Mr. Blonde is, I would argue that other than Mr. Orange, Mr. Blonde kind of drives the plot forward. Mr. Blonde is kind of the, like, Mr. Blonde kind of sets off the chain reaction, if you will. Yes, indeed. Well, definitely, I'll see you in the Twittersphere. Yes, indeed. Oh yeah, Madsen is awesome, dude. And he's so good in this one, man. He plays such a good sociopath here, man. Just like doesn't give a fuck. Like blue-eyed, stone cold, just shit-eating grin. Sociopathic murderer. Like you can be a sociopath and not be a murderer, not be like a criminal. You can just have a sociopathic mental disorder. But he's a sociopathic murderer, right? And like I said, he kind of like, to me, dude, he kind of like drives the plot forward. Like the shit that he does in the store sets everything off. It starts the mayhem, and then what he does, like with the cop, that kind of like escalates things again. Like I feel like, and then that causes the like Mexican standoff at the end. Like I feel like the things that Mr. Blonde does, everyone kind of, he's the wild card and everyone has to react to it. You know what I mean? Like the shit that Mr. Blonde does causes all the like, it sets off all the chain reactions. But man, like, yeah, the Madsen is so fucking good, and really like one of the most, if not the most memorable scene in the movie is, of course, the ear scene. We all know the ear scene. I know Irregardless knows the ear scene. It's infamous, man. Fucking that part is so crazy. It's another great use of tension building, because at that point you've already found out that he's nuts, right? You already found out the guy, you know, he might seem like, you know, put together and cool and all everything, and you know, he's like whatever, looks all slick and shit, but he's a psycho. And he killed all those people in the store just one by one, just bam, bam, bam. And at that point, yes, so you already know that he did that. You already know that, and he's already got into it, Mr. White. And, you know, it's when Nice Guy Eddie shows up. Nice Guy Eddie shows up, and he's like, okay, Blondie, you stay with them. And White's like, you can't leave them with him. He's like, you don't know, you didn't see. He's like, no, we got to go. We're going now. You two come with me, Blondie, you stay with him. And like, knowing that, like, I'm telling you, the dramatic irony, like, you already know what's going to happen. It's like the second he says, I'm leaving you with him, you know, dude, especially the first time you see it, you just know it's going to go bad. It's going to go so fucking bad. Oh, yeah. And you started out with nothing. Slap me on the back and say, please, please. Yeah, man. That it's probably the most memorable scene, right? It's probably the one that is kind of like drilled into everyone's head the most, because it's like a two-parter kind of thing, right? This scene, like, it takes place towards the end of the movie. Like, it's towards, like, I'd say it's like around the hour mark. I'd say that the infamous ear scene takes place around the hour mark. And it's good, and it's like, this is why I did these character studies in order, and it's why they introduce these characters in order, because the next character reveal is in perfect like transition with this one. So Nice Guy Eddie, and I'll talk about Nice Guy Eddie in a second, because Chris Penn's performance as Nice Guy Eddie was so fucking good, and he's really an underrated actor, man. And R.I.P. to Chris Penn. But yeah, so Nice Guy Eddie, like, yeah, he's like, you stay and babysit these two, and you're just like, fuck, man, a dude that is on the verge of death and a cop tied up with a psychopath. Like, you're basically leaving like two wounded gazelles with a lion, or you're leaving like wounded like fish in like shark infested waters. And he starts fucking torturing the cop, dude. And he says, I find it amusing to torture. He's like, I don't give a good fuck what you know. He's like, I'm gonna torture you anyway. And then turns on the music and like just unfazed, doesn't give a fuck. But you can tell that he's a sociopath and like a narcissist or whatever, because he doesn't give any kind of reaction. He's unfazed by everything. Like, he's like cutting him up, laughing about it, ha ha ha, like blah blah blah, burn you alive, not thinking anything of it. But as soon as the cop says, he's like, your boss said, he's like, what boss? I don't have a boss. Like, really insecure. It's like classic sociopath, classic narcissist. It's like, no one tells me what I do. You know, he's like, well, you know, you didn't have a boss for the job. But yeah, psycho, delusional. But yeah, he starts just fucking torturing the cop, dude. He pulls that. I mean, and they do Tarantino does a great job. Tarantino is really fucking good at tension building. Like, Tarantino's tension building is really, really underrated. With this movie and Inglourious Bastards in particular, he can really like like drag out one scene and make the tension like build throughout the entirety of one. Not just tension building throughout the movie, but like tension building from the start of one scene to the end of the scene, is what I mean. Yeah, I remember hearing about that. I remember. Yeah, he struggled to do it. Yeah, that's why he's such. I'm glad you brought that up, because the acting is so good, and that just shows you what a good actor that Michael Madsen is. That he's so believable as this stone cold psychopathic killer, and the actor is just nothing like. He can separate himself from that so good. Like, that's fucking acting talent, dude. Yeah, Michael Madsen's a pretty chill guy from what I gather. But yeah, man, I love the scene, man, because right, so he's torturing the cop. Sorry, I gotta fill my water up. He's torturing the cop, slicing him up. You know, they got fucking Stuck in the Middle with You going in the background, and then, you know, starts dancing. Then we get the ear scene. Then we get the fucking infamous ear scene. Cuts his fucking ear off. And it's like, Jesus Christ, man. You're not only like a psycho murderer, you're like sick, dude. You're not just a murderer. You're not just like a mass murderer. You're a twisted, like serial killer type motherfucker. And it's just so crazy to think about, like, and that guy was in the crew. He's this fucked up, like, sadistic fuck, and he was like, he's in your like crew where you're supposed to be professionally like pulling off this like robbery in 2 minutes, and you got a guy like that. So he's definitely the wild card. I would definitely say he's an antagonist, but that scene, man, it's just like that. Yeah, and it's kind of a 2-part scene, right? So he's torturing the cop, cutting him up, slices his fucking ear off, And it's like, damn, this is gnarly, dude. Like, you're like, the first time you see, you're just kind of like, holy shit, like, fuck, man. And and then it gets real. Then it gets real. He's like, don't go anywhere. And, saunters off. And the camera work is really good. The camera work is really, really good in this whole sequence. The him, like, before he tortures the cop, like setting it up, like pulling the knife out of his boot. You can see the straight razor, and you're like, oh my god, this, like, you see the knife, you're like, oh my god, this is gonna get bad. It's gonna get bad. And turns the radio on, and yeah, he starts to walk over, and you're like, what's he gonna do? And you see he gets the gasoline. You're like, oh my god, oh my god. And then like what happens is the song ends. The song cuts off. And then it's real. It's real at that point. It's like, okay, songs are like, fun's over. Yeah, we had our fun, but now I'm gonna burn you alive. And it gets really fucking real. And he's like, the cop is like pleading for his life, dude. Like, he's like dousing him with gasoline. The cop's like, no, man, come on. He's like, I don't know you guys. Like, I don't fucking know anything about you guys. Like, come on, man. I got a kid at home, and you're sitting there like watching, like, holy shit, he's really gonna fucking do. He's really gonna fucking burn this cop alive. Like, this is fucking insane. And he's like, what? You done? Like, you done? Yeah, have some fire. And then bam, 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 bam. Fucking Orange pops up and fucking blows him away. Like, that's probably the craziest part in the movie, honestly. Him getting left with those two, him torturing the cop, cutting his ear off, about to burn him alive, and then Orange pops up, kills him, kills Mr. Blonde, and then basically reveals himself to be the undercover cop. Tells the other guys, like, look, dude, I'm a cop. He's like, we are gonna fucking stay here and bleed on this floor until Joe Cabot comes through the door. And that shit is crazy, dude. That shit's crazy. And then it's like, it cuts to Mr. Orange and Mr. I like how they do that. Like, the plot moves forward. It moves from it goes from A to B, but then they do flashbacks of they have to like flesh out the character backstories or whatever. But I like how to do that. So they, the plot moves forward, then a significant moment happens with a certain character, and then he uses that, or Tarantino uses that to then go back and fill out that character's backstory through flashbacks. And I like that a lot. So yeah. And like I said, this point is like, it's like an hour, like right at an hour, I think is what it was. It's like 59 something. You find out it's Mr. Orange. He's been the cop the whole time. And then you kind of find out how it came to be. And like I said before, like he used the information somehow against Mr. White to find out who the fuck he was and all this shit. And it's crazy. It's crazy. And like I said, that's why this movie benefits from multiple viewings, because if you've never seen it, you don't you're still just kind of like, you don't know who it is, along with, everyone else, all the other characters. But once you see it again, you already know that Mr. Blonde is the cop, or Mr. Orange is the cop, and it just makes it even crazier. But yeah, he's the fucking dirty rat. It's Mr. Orange. And his whole like backstory thing, and that whole like how, him practicing the story and everything is really cool. Him telling, like, having to make up the bathroom story, and like about the cops, just being chilling in the bathroom, and him walking in and fucking them just being like, oh, they're just telling us, just sitting there telling a story, and like, but they got the dog in there and thinks the dog's barking at him or whatever. I think that's pretty funny. That's pretty cool. And yeah, Mr. Orange. Let me ask you guys this. Let me ask you, the four people in the chat, because this is kind of the conclusion that I came to, and I want to know if you guys agree with this. The conclusion that I came to was that I kind of think that Mr. Orange is an antagonist or the antagonist. Would you guys agree with that? That Mr. Orange, the undercover cop, is the antagonist, or one. I would say Mr. Blonde is an antagonist, just like because he's as a person, he's like a psychopath. Like so, well, real quick to touch on Mr. Blonde. The reason I consider him an antagonist, and you can maybe argue in some ways that he isn't because I was taking some Excedrin. You can maybe argue that he isn't because he like is not the one that set them up. If he hadn't started killing those people, they would have been arrested right there. They would have been shot and killed and arrested as they left the store. So in a way, you could maybe say he's not a protagonist, but yeah, I still think that he's ultimately like a bad guy because he's a fucking bad guy. Like he's a scumbag. Because he said that the reason that he killed the people in the store was that they set off the alarm. And yeah, okay, well, you said, well, I don't like alarms. So not only they didn't all set the alarm off. You know what I'm saying? Like, so not only did he kill the person that actually set off the alarm, but then he just started killing everybody else. Because Mr. White says he's just like, this is what he's doing. Bam, bam, bam. So yeah, I think you can say Mr. Blonde is definitely an antagonist. And like just torturing the cop too. I mean, you can say, well, it's a cop and they're, criminals. It's like, well, no, they were like White and Mr. Pink were like beating him. They were like punching him and shit. But Mr. Blonde, he didn't really care about trying to get information. They were doing it to try and get information, whether it was going to be the right way to do it or not. They were trying to get information out of him. Mr. Blonde just wanted to torture him because he liked it, because he thought it was funny. So that's why I think he's an antagonist. Mr. Orange, he's really like, he's the rat. He was basically going to fuck all of them up. Like, he's the reason, like, that all the cops were there waiting for him. Yeah, I would say that he's the antagonist or one of the antagonists, and he causes like he manipulates Mr. White masterfully throughout the whole thing. Even when he's like dying and Joe Cabot comes in there and he's like, I know that this guy's a piece of shit. Like he's still like, being the rat, still lying about it. So yeah, I would say he's one of the antagonists. But it kind of depends on how you look at it, I guess. But that's why I just kind of want to ask you guys: do y'all think that Mr. Orange, the undercover cop, is an antagonist in this story? Meaning, I'll pull up the technical definition. Basically, bad guy would be the layman's term. Look up the technical definition. Antagonist. A person who actively opposes or is hostile to someone or something, an adversary. So yeah, he's actively opposed to he's actively trying to bring down the crew. He's actively trying to bring down Joe Cabot's crew. So I would argue, and the whole story is told from the perspective of the criminals. It's all told from the perspective of either Buscemi or Mr. White or Mr. Blonde or Joe Cabot or Nice Guy Eddie. Like, they're all the main characters. So I would argue that Mr. Blonde or Mr. Orange is the one trying to screw all of them. And he did. I mean, he did. He successfully infiltrated their crew. He had the cops ready to pounce on him as soon as they came through the door, as soon as they came out the door. And then, like, again, Mr. Pink was right about everything. He's like, whoever set us up knew about this place because Mr. Orange fucking told him. He told Marvin Nash, the cop that gets one ear Marvin. He said, look, there's cops waiting a fucking block away, but they don't, we're not going to, he's like, we're going to sit here and fucking bleed until Joe Cabot comes through the door. So yeah, I would say he's super loyal to his job, super dedicated. Like, you want to talk about dedication, man? Like, Mr. Orange was going to get his guy if it was the last thing he fucking did. He was going to get his guy. And it's funny, man. You can see, like, kind of like, it's not an Easter egg thing, but it's just more irony. Like, because they show Mr. Orange's part towards the end. Like I said, you find out that he's the cop at like the hour mark, and then they spend the rest of the movie like showing you how he got into the crew, showing you what it was like in the build up. What, you know, he heard the whole fucking plan. He had the whole like Harvey Keitel was laying out the entire plan for him. This guy's going to be here. This guy's going to be there. So he told all the cops, okay, this is where you need to wait. He's like, this is the hideout. This is the, like, you know, and Pink, Mr. Pink called all of it. And yeah, ultimately it just goes bad, man. You find out he's a cop. You find out he set everybody up. And then Nice Guy Eddie shows back up and sees Mr. Blonde dead. And he's like, what the fuck? And they're arguing, and then Joe Cabot comes through, and he's like, yeah, he confirms it. He's like, yeah, he's the cop. He's the cop. He's a piece of shit. And I wasn't, you know, he was the only one I wasn't sure about. And it just sets up this Mexican standoff. And ultimately, this is where Mr. White becomes a tragic hero, because still, like, everyone knows at this point. The audience knows. Joe Cabot knows. Nice Guy Eddie knows. Mr. Pink knows. He already suspected, but now he's had his suspicions confirmed. Everyone knew. Everyone knows. And Mr. White won't believe it, because he's just loyal. He is loyal to a fault to Mr. Orange. And ultimately, like, Orange manipulated him and let him, you know, basically let him take out Joe Cabot. Because that was ultimately like Mr. Orange's goal. So yeah, Mr. Orange, I would say, is the antagonist, but you can't say that he wasn't dedicated. The guy literally was like, at the cost of my own life, I'm going to take out this fucking gangster, no matter what happens. So that's a crazy part of the movie. That's a good point. If he didn't infiltrate the crew and the whole heist went according to plan, he would have done something crazy. That's a good point, man. He would have done something crazy. And yeah, like, Orange, like, he literally, like, it's crazy that he was able to stay, like, dedicated to his undercover role and not, like, break character, and not, like, this is just insane to me. And yeah, someone mentioned it before, the acting from Tim Roth. I mentioned the acting from all these other different characters, but the acting from Tim Roth, god damn, it's good. And considering this is like one of his first roles where he wasn't like speaking with a British accent, like, you can kind of tell, like, it kind of sounds weird sometimes, but he's so good and believable as an actor that it really, like, doesn't take away from it at all. And it isn't, you know, that's a hard thing to do, man. Like, have an American accent if you're not American. So yeah, the acting, that opening scene, man, when he's bleeding everywhere and he's like, this blood is scaring the shit out of me, I'm gonna die, I know it. It's like that he makes that so believable, man. Like, you can see the panic and the fear in his eyes. Like, the dude, Tim Roth is a fucking good actor, man. Yeah, that's a really, really good acting. Also, the reveal when he kills Mr. Blonde and he's talking to the cop and tells him like, "Yo, I'm a cop," and the guy's like, "Yeah, I know." He's like, "We met a few like months back." He's like, "I don't remember that shit." And he's like, "How do I look?" He's like, "What do you want me to tell you? Do you look? He fucked you up." And and he's like, "Oh man, how could you like let them like sit like? How can you just sit there?" He's like, "What are they waiting for?" He's like, "Fuck you, motherfucker." He's like, "Look at me." He's like, "Yeah, your face might look all fucked up. You're gonna have to get plastic surgery." He's like, "Look at me. I'm fucking dying." He's like, "I'm dying." He's like, "I don't give a fuck. We're gonna sit here and be all fucked up and bleed to death until Joe Cabot sticks his head through that fucking door." And that's crazy, man. That's some crazy shit. So it's the story, man, the layers of the story in this movie and how they unfold and how it all comes together and ultimately like this movie's like a beautiful tragedy, man. It's a train wreck that you can see coming from almost a mile away, but you can't look away from it. And it's like you know it's gonna go bad. You know it's like it's not gonna end well, and it doesn't, you know. Like I said, Mr. White stands up for Mr. Orange, and Joe Cabot's like, nah, he's the cop, and he is. He's like, nah, he's the cop. I'm gonna kill him. He's like, I'm about to fucking kill him. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, it's a good point. It's slightly better odds with the undercover cop. Yeah, so exactly like yeah, he would have killed them all at the when they were celebrating later. Um, but yeah, that's ultimately like I think that's ultimately like the overlying theme of the movie is like the relationship between Mr. White and Mr. Orange and their whatever you want to call it, their friendship or their relationship or bond or whatever. That's really like the meat and potatoes of the movie because they're two guys basically on the wrong side of the street and they have competing goals. They're two guys with competing goals basically. Harvey Keitel's goal as his character's goal is to pull off the diamond heist and get rich and probably retire or something. Mr. Orange's goal is to infiltrate that crew and bring them down and arrest Joe Cabot. So they're two guys with that are they have competing goals. They're at odds with what they want to accomplish, but you can tell that they clicked with each other. They got along. They were cool. They were buddies, and that's where all like a lot of the dramatic irony comes from is like figuring out. They kind of hint at it like Buscemi, like when they're in the washroom, he's like, for all we know, he could be the fucking right. He's like, that kid is in there diet from a fucking bullet that I saw him take. And it's just like, that's powerful and stuff, but it's like, dude, you don't know. And it's like, it's just crazy, man. It's fucking crazy that, so their relationship, and it's kind of like bookended by opening up where they're in the car, they're driving to the warehouse, and Orange is all fucked up. It starts that way with the two of them, and Harvey Keitel comforting Mr. Orange, telling him everything's going to be all right, telling him we just got to chill out, wait for Joe, everything's going to be cool. And then the end of the movie, everyone's dead except the two of them and Mr. Pink. And they might have gotten Pink at that point when he ran out the door, but I can't remember the exact order of that. But everyone's dead except for him. And so it's the two of them again. Again, he's holding Mr. Orange in his arms. The guy's about to die. He just got shot again by Joe Cabot. Now Mr. White's dying. And like here they find themselves again at the end. And he's like, I got you, buddy. He's like, it's gonna be okay. And then he's like, he's just like, I'm sorry, man, I'm a cop. He's like, I am a fucking cop. And that's just like, it's so soul crushing. And you can just tell like Harvey's just like, all right, dude, it just crushes him, man. And he's like, he has to kill him. He's just gotta kill him. He's like, I do. He's like, you just tell he doesn't want to do it. You can tell how just like, oh, like fuck, like are you fucking kidding me, dude? Like all that shit. Like I defended you. Like I like all that shit. You were the cop the whole fucking time. Like that's powerful shit, man. That's powerful storytelling. That's like great acting and just it's good shit, man. It's good shit. And yeah, ultimately, like it's a zero-sum game. Like everybody loses, everybody dies. But the themes of like loyalty and honor and trust and mistrust and conviction, excuse me, all those things, those themes are prevalent in it, I would say. And yeah, God, my fucking this jungle cake, boys. Damn it. Oh, shit. That's better. So, yeah, man, it's ultimately like a beautiful tragedy to me. Like, their relationship, their bond is, they would have been, it's like in another world, we would have been friends. Like, we would have been cool. We would have been like brothers, and they're the closest, but they're also at the other thing, the little thing that you notice, like the part where it's towards the end of the movie, they've gotten away and you're seeing how Mr. Orange got shot. And they're like, they're in the car with Mr. Brown. You see that he just got killed. And the cops roll up and Keitel whips out the like double Glocks or whatever they are, 45s. I think they're Glocks, like Glock 22s or something, whatever. I don't know. I'm not a gun nut, but he whips out the fucking the double pistols and smokes both of the cops, and you can see Orange just kind of be like, damn, it's like that's probably like he probably knew those guys. And it's after you find out that he's a cop, but that's still another like little like damn, like now that you know, it's like fuck. You can see how it was never gonna work. Like they were never gonna be able to be friends. And Orange was really just manipulating them the whole fucking time. And Keitel was like going to bat for him, and it's really great storytelling, tragic but powerful and very entertaining to see unfold. It's fucking it's I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that, Nick Alexander. I really do, man. I love this movie. It truly is one of my favorite movies ever. It never gets old. It I really the acting is incredible. Like I said, those four guys you see right there, Michael Madsen, Steve Buscemi, Harvey Keitel, and Tim Roth, their performances in this movie, some of them, it's some of the best shit they've done, and for like it's some of their best work in all of their respective careers. It's a high mark for all of them as far as acting. Quentin Tarantino, and considering this is his first fucking movie right out of the gate with Reservoir Dogs, dude. And like I said, just to piggyback off of last week's, Tony Scott got the script for Reservoir Dogs and was like, I want to do this one. He's like, I want Reservoir Dogs. I want this one now. And he was like, no, Quentin already has, is like Quentin's friend, their little connection. He's like, Quentin Tarantino already has like the financing for this movie almost. So Quentin Tarantino had like gotten the funds together for Reservoir Dogs himself. I'm imagining that it's probably the least expensive movie for him, like production cost wise. I imagine that Reservoir Dogs was, probably like $1 million or $2 million, something not like crazy. Just I bet he made it for like a couple $1 million or something, or I would be surprised if it was like a couple $100,000. That would be insane, but it wouldn't surprise me too much either, I guess. But anyway, Quentin Tarantino, like this was like his baby. Like he was like, no, I got the funds together for it. I'm going to direct it. But that's why Tony Scott got True Romance. He's like, okay, fine. I don't get Reservoir Dogs. I'm directing fucking True Romance. But yeah, considering this is his first movie and who Quentin Tarantino is now and what he's known for, Pulp Fiction, you know, Inglourious Bastards, Django Unchained, like these are like really popular movies, man. And fucking Reservoir Dogs was his first one, and I got to agree. I don't know if who was it that said that up above, but I agree with it. I think it might have been Rear Naked MMA. No, it was Irregardless. I agree with this statement. To me, this is his piece de resistance. I know mileage varies, and I don't fault like Quentin Tarantino does not make bad movies. So if your favorite Tarantino movie is Inglourious Bastards, I love Inglourious Bastards. I think it's a great fucking movie. It's so fucking awesome. If your favorite movie is Pulp Fiction, Pulp Fiction's one of my favorite movies. It's so fucking good. Jackie Brown, I love Jackie Brown, dude. Django is an awesome movie, dude. He doesn't make bad movies. But to me, Reservoir Dogs is the sauce, dude. Reservoir Dogs is the hot shit to me. It's one of the best crime thrillers ever. Harvey Keitel I'm a big Harvey Keitel stan. And like I said, this is some of his like most believable, his like, dude, it's just, he really, really gets into the fucking role. And you can really like, you can feel the dude's pain, man. You can feel his fucking pain, like knowing, because he knew, man, he knew better than to do some of the shit that he did. Like, and that's another thing that's like ironic about it is like, out of those four right there, he's the most experienced, and he probably regard, other than the thing with Mr. Orange, he was the most professional. So that's why it's even crazier that Orange was able to manipulate him like that into just, and it's kind of happened kind of organically and kind of like not, like they clung to each other. They gravitated towards each other when they first got in the crew, like took the guy under his wing, fucking, but then and then he gets shot. They're together. He gets shot. Like, that's real. Him dying and like being scared of dying, that's fucking real. He didn't fake that. But then he gets himself together and he's like, no, I'm still a cop. I still have a job to do. Like, I'm still trying to like bust fucking Joe Cabot. Like, and I'm going to do it no matter what. And knowing that everyone else is like, I do want to point this out, man. There's a great little thing, and I might be overanalyzing this, but there's a great little moment where Mr. Pink, it's right when Mr. Pink comes in, and he's talking about there being like I'm going to see if I wrote a note down about it. I'm going to see if I can find it. It's right when Mr. Pink comes in, and he's like, we were set up, man. He's like, I know we're fucking. He's like, was that a fucking setup or what, dude? And you can see it. The camera is like, from the perspective of, it's kind of like pointed down at Mr. Orange and Mr. White, and you can kind of see Mr. Pink in the background. But let's see if I can. Like I said, everything Mr. Pink predicts about everything being a setup is true, but it's crazy. Once, like I said, multiple viewings do nothing but good for this movie, because once you already know who everyone is and what happens, you can start seeing little signs like, oh yeah, that's a little like, yep, like with Nice Guy Eddie, he gives Orange a couple looks, like he gives him the side eye kind of a couple times, like what the fuck are you talking about? But are you fucking? But this little moment here in the warehouse, when he's talking about the setup, he's like, there could be cops coming here right now. He's like, they're like, whoever set us up knows about this place. And you can see Mr. Orange have his gun. Like, you can see him kind of like, almost like start to like pull his gun up and is like, was he gonna try and kill him right there? Was he gonna try and off White and Pink right there? Because it almost looks like he's trying to, and then Mr. White like says something and he just like kind of like puts it back down. But there's like a little moment there where Pink is like basically like outing him, like basically like saying, no, we were set up. This is why there could be cops waiting for us right now. He's like, we need to get the fuck out of here, man. And you can see Orange kind of like, he kind of like almost like pulls his, he like almost goes to lift his gun. And it's a nice little like, I caught it and I was like, and I might be overanalyzing it, but it was a little like, oh, did he get like a wild hair there and was going to like go for it right there and kill them both? But I just thought that was a little, just a little thing that I caught. Because I've seen this movie way too many I watch way too many movies. But, yeah. Yeah. It's so good, man. It's so fun. And what's crazy is, dude, this movie is less than an hour and 45 minutes. All this shit happens in like an hour and just a little over an hour and a half. And if you think about it, the action and stuff is really less than an hour and a half, because a good 10 minutes is the opening scene where they're just like, they're having breakfast and they're just shooting the shit over coffee and talking about how Like a Virgin is a metaphor for big dicks. And fucking they're arguing about tipping and Mr. Pink is being a cheap bastard, and you know, they're cracking jokes and shit. The movie's fucking hilarious. It's hilarious. It's dramatic as fuck. It's really some of the moments are really believable, like really like honest, like human moments of like conflict. Like I said, the scene with Keitel, like, dude, what the fuck am I supposed to do? The guy asked me my name and he was dying. Like, yeah, I don't trust you, bro. Like, you know, he's like, what would, he's like, that's really like, damn, like, what would I do? Like, fuck, man. Knowing now, you know, like knowing that he's the cop now, is like, yeah, no, fuck, no, I wouldn't tell him. I wouldn't tell him. It's like, if you were in that moment and you didn't know he was the cop and you just thought, okay, this is my buddy that I'm on this robbery with, and the shit just went bad. He's like the kid that I'm taking the kid under my wing and now he's shot, bleeding to death. Like, what, like, I'm supposed to be the leader of the crew. And like, that's why it's so crazy, man. That's why it's so, but it's like, no, he was the cop he was the one he was the guy that had infiltrated your crew and was going to bring you all down. But yeah, man, I love watching this movie. It was a real treat to watch it again. And I truly appreciate all you guys sticking around to hear me yap about a fucking almost 30, 40-year-old movie. But it's one of my favorites, man. It's one of my favorite movies. To me, it's Quentin Tarantino's best movie. But I really liked being able to watch it again and really break it down. I'm telling you, I was stopping it like every 5 minutes and like writing a little something down. But yeah, I appreciate the kind words, Nick, and I definitely recommend giving this one another view. And you'll pick up on little things, man. You'll pick up on little subtle like little glances that the characters give each other, and like there's little like I'll see some things I wrote down here. Yeah, great acting from Steve Buscemi. Like when he's like sitting there smoking a cigarette, and he's like, dude, can you believe Mr. Blonde? He's like, and they're like, you know, he's sitting there like casually, just kind of like reloading, you know, reloading his gun, and just like, he's like, nah, you panic on the inside, man. It's like, that's crazy. Like they're both just like, and then Keitel, oh, it was awesome, man. But yeah, let me see if I can find a couple of these, like, yeah. So some of the scenes, the directing shots, some of Tarantino's camera work. This is one of his some of the camera work that I really, really like. The moment that Mr. Blonde is about to kill the cop Marvin Nash, where he's flicked the Zippo and he's about to burn him alive, and you see the gunshots from off. You see and hear the gunshots from off camera, and you see them just lighting him up, and you see blood going everywhere, and then it switches right to Mr. Blonde just emptying the fucking clip, and the camera kind of slowly pans around, like as he's as he's emptying the gun, it like slowly pans around to a different angle, and I really like that camera work, man. And then it goes all the way around. You can see Mr. Blonde just like slump in the corner, and it's dude. He's like, Orange is all on autopilot at that point. He's like, you were about to kill one of my brothers in blue, and no, you're not. You're not. I can't keep my cover anymore. I can't. Like I can sit there and watch you cut him up. I can sit there and watch you cut his fucking ear off, but I'm not going to sit there and watch you burn him alive. And he's like, at the risk of blowing my own cover, he's like, I have to, man. He's like, nah, you tortured your last person, man. So that's a crazy like little sequence, and can like the fact that it's such a good reveal. Because I mean, everyone's seen this movie by now. I mean, especially if you're a movie buff and you like you know you're like a 30-something-year-old dude, like you've probably fucking seen Reservoir Dogs. And if you're a dude and you like watching movies and shit, you've probably seen Reservoir Dogs. But the first time you see it, it is a crazy good, like, oh shit. Like the first time I saw that, I was like, because you think he's dead. The motherfucker's just sitting there and you kind of just forget about him, right? Because you're so focused on him, what he's doing to the cop. You kind of just forget about it. He's just sitting there in a bloody heap. You just forget he's there. And then all of a sudden, like that's a crazy, crazy part of the movie to me. Oh, damn. Oh, yeah, dude. They are. Hey, True Romance is in that universe too, man. But that's a good call. That is a good call, dude. Blonde is Vincent. So he's Travolta's bro. So when he says Joe Cabot asked him about Alabama. He asked him about Alabama. He says he's like Alabama. He's like it's like, yeah, I haven't seen her. He's like, I did a couple jobs together with her, and she got together with so and so. It's like, yeah, she's a you know, she can take care of herself. She's like a good little thief. That's Alabama Worley from True Romance. That's Christian Slater's wife. That's Clarence's wife. She ends up being Clarence's wife, but yeah, they connect that whole like universe, like True Romance, and I guess Pulp Fiction too. So that's pretty cool. That's cool shit. But yeah, when he says when Mr. White and Joe Cabot are talking, and he mentions Alabama, that's who he's talking about from True Romance, the Patricia Arquette's character. I did not know that, but I'm not surprised, dude. He almost ruined a lot of shit, man. Like it's so like some of my favorite movies are produced by him, and it's like, oh my god, it makes me feel so icky. But I can separate the art from the artist, I guess, when it comes to movies, because I appreciate like how influential it's been to filmmaking. But yeah, it's always just like little, oh god, he really did. Oh god, yeah. It's like even True Romance, you gotta see the wine scene. Like, oh, bleh, bleh. But yeah, it just is what it is, man. It's just a lot of people in power, man. A lot of people that have a lot of money and power just do whatever they want, or think they can do whatever they want, and a lot of times they do. It's just kind of disgusting, but it is what it is. Nothing I can do about it. But yeah, this Reservoir Dogs is to me is his best shit. But yeah, let me think about which Tarantino movies I want to do next week. Let me think about which ones I want to do next week. Because I kind of like to keep it on the Tarantino thing, man. I've been enjoying watching. I haven't seen. I'll just go through and watch. I'll go through and put up polls until I watch and review all the Tarantino movies. So, in summary, for Reservoir Dogs, the acting is fucking top notch. The story and the screenplay, top notch. Dialogue, again, about as good as you can fucking get. Tension building is incredible. The pacing is really good. I like they kind of breaks up the narrative structure a little bit with flashbacks, and just the elements of irony and like the slowly like revealing the movie, like slow revelations and then a big crazy one towards the end, and just some very, very memorable scenes, some incredibly memorable performances. It's just a badass movie, man. It's really sick. I got to give it a 10, boys. I got to give it a TC rating of 10. It's one of my favorite movies. It's Tarantino's best to me. And I give it a solid fucking 10. Solid 10. So basically, yeah, here. So Tuesday, every Tuesday will probably be a movie. And so today is like either movie / video game. And what I will start doing in the future is kind of what I did with Mortal Kombat, like a movie that maybe they made that was from a video game or something like that, or something, or a comic book that became a movie, some kind of crossover thing like that. But yeah, so Tuesday that will be movies and comics and video games. Wednesday is the jam session. So tomorrow, if you haven't voted and you want to, I'm either going to listen to Dirt or Core. I'm either going to listen to Dirt by Alice in Chains or Core by Stone Temple Pilots, either tonight or tomorrow, and then I'll review that tomorrow. So tomorrow is a jam session, and I'll either be reviewing Dirt or Core, and I think the poll might be closing pretty soon if it hasn't already. I know. Yeah, it's kind of confusing. I know Entertainment Center can be like so many different things, but yeah. Tuesday is movies and Wednesday is music. So yeah, I'm gonna be doing one of those. But yeah, so next week, man, I will put up a poll, and it'll be between another 2 Quentin Tarantino movies, and we'll just do it like that until all of them just get kind of checked off, all the good ones anyway. The dude's made like less than 10 movies, which is crazy. He's only made like 8 or 9 movies, I think. I could be wrong. That could not be a real figure, but yeah, he doesn't make a lot. He just makes good ones. So yeah, I want to thank all you guys for stopping through and chopping it up with me. If you're new to this channel and you would like to participate in the poll, which I think might be closing soon, for which album I'm gonna review tomorrow, I have to be following you on Twitter to vote. So follow me and I'll follow you back. It's at J_my2cents. That's me on Twitter, at J_my2cents. If you follow me, I will follow you back, and then you can then I'll be following you, and you can vote in the poll. So it's either Alice in Chains, Dirt, or Stone Temple Pilots, Core. And then I'll put up a poll for 2 more Tarantino movies, and then I'll do another one like this next week. But this was a lot of fun, man. I love fucking Reservoir Dogs. I love talking about it and doing like a deep dive tape study, like film study rather. And I really enjoy talking about it with you guys. I like doing this shit, man. Movie appreciation. Nice. Appreciate it here. Appreciate you. Yeah, cheers, brother. Cheers to you. Cheers, Chris Brady. Appreciate you coming through, man. Nick Alexander, shout out to Australia. Have a good one. Shout out to MMA Locker Room. Appreciate you, Mills. Rear Naked MMA. Fuck yeah. MMA Drunkie. Appreciate you coming through, bro. Check him out. Jay Henry on Twitter. Yes, indeed, man. Appreciate you guys coming through, man. This is a good time. I'll be back at it tomorrow, boys. Yeah, vote in the poll. You got to be following me on Twitter, or I got to be following you. And if you follow me, I'll definitely follow back. And if you're new to Twitter and you want to get into the Twitter game, man, just holler at me. I'll be retweeting my ass off, dude. So if you got Twitter and you want to, you follow me, I'll follow you back, and I'll retweet all your stuff as much as I can. But yeah, appreciate you guys. Rear Naked, Boston Nick, Nicky Elbows, MMA Locker Room, Irregardless. And yeah, shout out to Chris Brady and my dude MMA Drunkie. Y'all are the shit, man. I will be back tomorrow, voting the poll. And shit, man, y'all have a good evening. This has been Just My 2 Cents. And shit, boys, I'll catch y'all next time. Peace.